Called the cops on my sister for stealing my car. She stole my debit card next, got arrested mid-spa day. My parents lost their minds. I refused to bail her out, and now my whole family thinks I'm the villain. So, here's the deal. My sister, Lisa, has a habit of borrowing things without asking. It's been an issue since we were kids. Back then, it was my clothes, my books, even my allowance money mysteriously disappearing. My parents always brushed it off with, "She's your little sister. She looks up to you." But now we're adults and the stakes are a little higher, like, say, stealing my freaking car. Last week, I had a huge work presentation, one of those your entire career depends on this kind of things. I was already stressed out of my mind, so I made sure everything was in place the night before. Outfit? Ready. Notes? Organized. Alarm? Set. Car keys? Right on the kitchen counter, next to my coffee mug, so I wouldn't forget them. Well, guess what wasn't there when I woke up? My car. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. I checked my pockets, my bag, even the fridge in case I did something incredibly stupid. Then it hit me. Lisa had been over the night before, complaining about how her car was in the shop and how expensive Ubers were. I specifically told her, "That sucks, but don't take my car. I need it for work." I called her, and of course, she didn't answer. Texted, nothing. At this point, I was fuming and also starting to panic because I had no way to get to work on time. My boss was already on edge about this presentation, and I wasn't about to show up late and make things worse. So, in a mix of anger and desperation, I called the police and reported my car stolen. Because what was? An hour later, Lisa finally called me back, all casual like, "Oh, relax, I just borrowed it. I'll bring it back later." Excuse me? I told her I had already reported it stolen, and that's when the screaming started. She freaked out, saying I was being dramatic and that she was obviously going to return it. Meanwhile, I was sitting there wondering when exactly borrowing started meaning taking someone's property without permission and ignoring their calls. Long story short, the cops pulled her over. She tried telling them it was a misunderstanding, but since the car was legally mine and I had reported it, they didn't just let her off with a warning. She ended up with a lovely little ride to the police station. My parents lost their minds when they found out. How could you do that to your sister? You know she didn't mean any harm. Meanwhile, I had to explain to them that yes, actually, taking someone's car without permission is a crime, and also maybe, just maybe, if they had disciplined her properly when we were younger, we wouldn't be in this situation. Lisa is furious and refuses to talk to me. My parents think I overreacted. My friends are split. Some say I was justified, others say I went too far. So, am I the bad person here? Or was I just enforcing the concept of basic respect? Because last time I checked, Grand Theft Auto isn't exactly a minor sibling squabble. So after the whole police station fiasco, Lisa finally got released. No charges were officially filed, but she had to deal with the embarrassment of being hauled in like a criminal. You'd think that would make her at least a little remorseful, right? Wrong. Instead of apologizing, she doubled down. The second she got home, she went on a full-blown social media rant about how I was ruining family bonds over a stupid car and how I love calling the cops on my own flesh and blood. Because, apparently, I'm the villain for expecting her to, not steal from me. At first, I ignored it. But then, mutual friends started texting me, asking what the hell happened. Some of them thought it was hilarious. "Dude, your sister is an idiot," while others were actually siding with her. "Maybe you could have just let it slide?" One of them said, "Let it slide." I had to take a deep breath and remind myself that none of these people had ever had to deal with Lisa's nonsense firsthand. But the real kicker? My parents. Oh, my parents. Instead of telling Lisa she was in the wrong, they gave me the talk. You know the one. The family is family speech, where suddenly the fact that we share DNA means I should tolerate literally anything she does. You know how Lisa is, my mom said, like that was some sort of ironclad defense. Yeah, and that's the problem. I shot back. She's been like this for years because no one ever holds her accountable. That didn't go over well. My dad, usually the quieter one, jumped in with, "You could have cost her a record. What if this affects her future job prospects?" And that's when I lost it. "Oh, you mean like how she almost cost me my job by making me late to the most important meeting of my career?" Crickets. At this point, I knew arguing was pointless. They weren't going to suddenly have an epiphany and realize I wasn't the bad guy here. So I laid down a simple rule. Lisa is no longer allowed in my house without my permission. And if she ever takes my car or anything else, again, I will press charges. No hesitación. That was the moment my mom gasped like I had just set fire to a church. My dad shook his head like I was being so unreasonable. But I wasn't backing down. Lisa, of course, refused to speak to me for a while. Then, out of nowhere, I got a Venmo request from her for $50 for the Uber home from jail. I laughed so hard I almost choked. I responded with, "Consider it a lesson fee." She blocked me. It's been a couple of months now, and honestly, life has been so much more peaceful. No more disappearing belongings, no more random borrowing incidents, no more waking up wondering if my car is still outside. My parents still occasionally try to guilt-trip me, but I shut it down every time. And Lisa? Well, rumor has it she recently borrowed a friend's laptop without asking. That friend didn't call the cops, but she did post about it on social media. Looks like she's finally running out of people willing to let it slide. Guess some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Lisa and I didn't talk for a solid 3 months. Not a text, not a call, nothing. At first, I felt a tiny bit guilty, because that's what happens when you've been conditioned to keep the peace in a toxic family dynamic. But then I remembered, I wasn't the one who stole a car. My parents, though? Oh, they tried everything. The guilt trips, the family is forever speeches, even the fake emergencies. Example. My mom texted me one night saying, "Lisa is really struggling. You should reach out." Struggling with what? Consequences? I ignored it. Then, about a week later, I got a voicemail from my dad. "Lisa's been really down lately. She wants to talk. Just hear her out." I knew better than to fall for it, but curiosity got the best of me. So I called Lisa. The second she picked up, she sighed dramatically. Well, look who finally decided to be a decent sibling. Oh. Yeah, I hung up. I knew exactly where that conversation was going. Straight to Victimville, population, Lisa. She didn't want to apologize. She didn't want to make amends. She wanted me to feel bad for holding her accountable, and I wasn't about to let that happen. Then came Thanksgiving. Now, usually I avoid family gatherings like the plague, but this year, my mom convinced me to come by promising Lisa wouldn't be there. "I think it would be good for all of us to be together," she said sweetly. I should have known better. I walked in, and boom, Lisa, sitting at the table, arms crossed like a pouty child. The tension was instant. You could have cut it with a butter knife. My dad cleared his throat and tried to play peacemaker. "Come on, let's all sit down and enjoy a nice meal as a family." I sat down, but I didn't say a word to Lisa. Not because I was mad, but because I knew how this game worked. If I said anything, even past the mashed potatoes, she'd find a way to turn it into an argument. And sure enough, she couldn't handle the silence. Halfway through dinner, she dramatically sighed and muttered, "Some people just don't know how to forgive." I took a sip of my wine. Ignored. She tried again. Must be exhausting holding a grudge this long. Ignored. Then she hit me with, "I would never have called the cops on you." And I just laughed. Out loud. Right in her face. That broke her. She slammed her fork down and went into full tantrum mode. "You ruined my life." Over a cigarette, I finally turned to her and said, "No, you ruined your own life by taking something that wasn't yours." I just held up a mirror. My mom gasped like I just smacked Lisa across the face. My dad did his signature disappointed head shake. But Lisa? Oh, she went full Karen at a Starbucks mode. She started ranting about how I'm heartless and how families shouldn't do that to each other. And you know what? I agreed. So I stood up, grabbed my coat, and said, "Exactly. Families shouldn't do that to each other." Yet here we are. Then I left. And let me tell you, the drive home in my own damn car never felt so good. After that, I officially went low contact. No more Lisa nonsense. No more family guilt trips. Just peace. And you know what? Best decision I ever made. Lisa can keep playing the victim. My parents can keep enabling her. But me? I'll be out here living my best, drama-free life. Because at the end of the day, holding people accountable isn't cruelty. It's self-respect. A few months after the Thanksgiving meltdown, I was finally feeling like I had moved on. My life was quieter. I wasn't dealing with Lisa's nonsense, and I had a new level of freedom from my parents' constant guilt tripping. Bliss. Then one day I got a call from my bank. Hi, we just wanted to confirm some recent transactions on your account. My stomach immediately dropped. They rattled off a few charges. $200 at a gas station, $450 at some random boutique, $1,200 at a fancy restaurant. I didn't make any of those purchases. That's when it hit me. Lisa. I checked my wallet, and yep, my spare debit card was missing. The one I never used. The one I kept in my old purse in the hall closet. The one she absolutely should not have had access to. Now, at this point, I wanted to believe there was some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe it had been stolen by a stranger? Maybe my bank made a mistake? But nope. A few texts later, a friend sent me a screenshot of Lisa's Instagram story. There she was out at brunch, holding a mimosa, captioned, "Treating myself because I deserve it, face blowing a kiss." I wanted to scream, so I called her. The second she picked up, I didn't even say hello. I went straight for it. "Where the hell is my debit card, Lisa?" Silence. Then she actually had the audacity to laugh. "Oh, that? I meant to tell you I borrowed it." Borrowed. As if my money was a goddamn community fund. I took a deep breath. "Lisa, that's theft. You stole from me." She scoffed. "Oh my God. Don't be so dramatic. You make way more money than I do. It's not like you even noticed." I saw red. "You better return every cent, or I'm calling the police. And this time, I will press charges." That's when she lost it. She started screaming about how I was obsessed with punishing her, how I was a terrible sibling, how normal families help each other. I hung up mid-rant and immediately reported the charges as fraudulent. And because karma is beautiful, my bank flagged her location when she used my card. Guess where she was? A luxury spa. Guess who showed up? The cops. Lisa got arrested at a damn spa, in the middle of what I'm sure was a very relaxing facial. I found out because my mom called me, crying, "How could you do this to your sister?" Oh, I don't know, maybe because she committed actual credit card fraud? But no, according to my parents, I was being petty. I should have just asked Lisa nicely to pay me back. Yeah, sure, because that worked so well the last time she stole from me. Long story short, Lisa had to spend the night in jail. I refused to bail her out. My parents were furious, but I didn't care. A few days later, Lisa sent me a half-assed apology text. "I'm sorry you got so upset, but you really overreacted. Can we just move on?" That was the last straw. I blocked her on everything. No more Lisa. No more family drama. No more stolen cars, stolen money, stolen peace. And you know what? Life is so much better now. Moral of the story? Sometimes the only way to win is to walk away. And if someone keeps proving they don't respect you, believe them. Next story. Told my vegan sister she shouldn't force an all-vegan meal on our family. Dad smuggled in a rotisserie chicken. She lost her mind, stormed out, and now we're in a full-blown food war with no end in sight. So, my sister, Emily, has been vegan for about 5 years now. She's really passionate about it. Ethical reasons, environmental impact, all that jazz. I totally respect it. But here's where things get complicated. Every year, we do a big family dinner, and this year, Emily insisted on hosting. Cool, right? Except she also made it crystal clear that the entire menu was going to be 100% vegan. Now, I don't have anything against vegan food. Some of it is actually really good. But our family is, well, let's just say they're not the tofu and quinoa type. My dad thinks a meal without meat isn't a meal. My mom still doesn't really understand what tofu is, and my uncle, bless his heart, once asked if vegans could eat chicken because it's just a bird. Yeah, that's what we're working with here. So, when Emily sent out a group text saying she was hosting and that it would be an all-vegan experience, I responded, "That's great, but maybe we could have a few non-vegan options so everyone feels comfortable." And oh boy, did that open the floodgates. Emily immediately blew up my phone, accusing me of not supporting her lifestyle and saying that I was being disrespectful for even suggesting bringing animal products into her home. She said that when mom and dad host, she never demands they make an entirely vegan meal for her. She just eats the side dishes or brings her own food. And okay, fair point. But I tried explaining that this is different because she's hosting everyone, not just herself. When you're the host, shouldn't you accommodate your guests? That's when things escalated. She called me entitled, said I was being dismissive of her values, and told me I should suck it up and eat vegan for one night. I argued that it wasn't about me. It was about the whole family. I even pointed out that if I were hosting and refused to offer vegan options, she'd probably be upset. She denied it, of course. Our parents got dragged into it, and my mom, queen of passive-aggressive peacekeeping, suggested we just let Emily do her thing and maybe eat beforehand if we're worried about it. My dad? He just grumbled something about sneaking a cheeseburger in before dinner. So now I feel like I've been labeled the bad guy just for wanting a more inclusive meal. I get that it's her house, her rules, but shouldn't a host think about their guests too? Am I really in the wrong for saying she shouldn't force everyone to eat vegan for a family meal? So, after the group chat meltdown, I decided to let things cool down for a few days. But then my brother, Jake, who usually stays out of family drama, called me up. His exact words? Dude, I don't care what we eat, but if Dad shows up with a cheeseburger in his coat pocket, I will lose my mind. And honestly, same. I tried one last time to reason with Emily, suggesting a compromise, maybe a small turkey on the side, or at the very least, some butter for the mashed potatoes. But nope. She was firm. No animal products would enter her home. Fine. Message received. Then the group chat lit up again. My uncle, the one who thought chicken might be vegan, asked, "What about honey? That's like bee juice, right?" Emily shut him down so fast I thought my phone might catch fire. Meanwhile, my dad was quietly planning a coup. A few days before the dinner, I got a text from him. "Dad, gonna bring my own dish. Tell no one." Me, "What are you planning?" "Dad, steak. Medium rare." Me, "You cannot sneak an entire steak into a vegan dinner." "Dad, watch me." So now, not only was Emily refusing to budge, but my dad was gearing up for a full-scale rebellion. I considered just sitting back and letting this train wreck happen, but then I imagined Emily's reaction if Dad actually did try to cut into a steak at her perfectly curated plant-based table. The woman would self-combust. The night of the dinner arrived, and I walked in cautiously, bracing for impact. Emily had gone all out. Candles, cloth napkins, handwritten place cards. Seriously, it looked like a wedding reception. And the food? I'll admit, it looked good. There were fancy salads, roasted veggies, some kind of lentil loaf that smelled surprisingly amazing. And then there was my dad. This man had brought an entire rotisserie chicken in a Tupperware container. He pulled it out mid-dinner, like a magician revealing his final trick. The second the lid came off, Emily turned into the human embodiment of the scream emoji. "Are you serious?" she shrieked, staring at the offending poultry like it had personally insulted her. Dad, unfazed, picked up a drumstick. "What?" he said, as if he hadn't just detonated a vegan landmine. "I didn't cook it here." Emily looked like she was going to flip the table. "That is disrespectful. You can't just bring meat to a vegan dinner." Now, this is where I should have stepped in and helped de-escalate, right? Like a mature adult? Nope. Because at that exact moment, my uncle, yes, chicken is vegan uncle, just muttered, "Guess that's a no on the honey too." And I lost it. I completely broke down laughing. Emily, meanwhile, was not amused. She stormed out of the room, and my mom had to chase after her. Meanwhile, my dad just kept eating his contraband chicken like nothing happened. "I don't get the big deal," he said through a mouthful of drumstick. "She didn't have to eat it." Jake and I just sat there stunned. I mean, was it that unreasonable? Sure, Emily had a right to serve whatever she wanted, but wasn't it also kind of extreme to expect everyone to follow her diet? Was Dad an agent of chaos? Yes. But was he completely wrong? Eventually, Emily came back, but the vibe was tense. She barely spoke for the rest of the night, and I knew this was far from over. Later, she texted me, saying I didn't back her up and that she felt totally disrespected in her own home. I told her I was sorry she felt that way, but also that she kind of set herself up for disaster by making zero compromises. She didn't take that well. So now, we're in a Cold War. The next family event is at my house, and I have a strong suspicion Emily is going to show up with tofu turkey and some kind of vengeance plan. Guess we'll see who wins round 2. Fast forward a couple of months, and now it's my turn to host a family dinner. After the whole rotisserie chicken incident, tensions between Emily and the rest of the family had been at an all-time high. I figured this would be the perfect opportunity to smooth things over. So I try to be the bigger person. I sent Emily a message saying, "Hey, just so you know, I'm planning a mixed menu, some vegan dishes, some non-vegan ones. Everyone should have something they can eat." Her response? "I don't know if I feel comfortable attending a meal where animal products are served." At this point, I was done tiptoeing around this nonsense. I told her, "Emily, that's literally every family meal ever. You've been fine with it before. No one is forcing you to eat the turkey." She left me on read. The day of the dinner arrives, and guess who shows up anyway? Yep, Emily. But she wasn't alone. She brought her own meal, her own plate, and a full-blown PowerPoint presentation on the benefits of veganism. I wish I were joking. Right as everyone was about to dig in, she dramatically stood up and said, "Before we eat, I'd like to share some important information with you all." Then she whips out her laptop, connects it to my TV, and suddenly, we're watching a documentary clip about factory farming. Cue. Dead silence. My uncle, yes, chicken is vegan uncle, blinked at the screen and went, "Well, that's one way to ruin my appetite." My dad, who was already mid-bite into a turkey leg, just muttered, "I feel like I'm being personally attacked." I try to cut in, "Emily, I really don't think now is the time." But she was on a mission. She clicked to the next slide, which had some very graphic images. "Do you guys know how your food gets to your plate?" she asked, her voice all serious and dramatic. At that point, my mom had to intervene. "Honey, we love you, but this is not the way to do it." Emily huffed, slammed her laptop shut, and said, "Fine, enjoy your meal of suffering. Just know I tried to help you." And then, no joke, she picked up her own plate of food and went to eat in the car. At this point, everyone just kind of stared at each other. My dad slowly put down his turkey leg. "So, we're just going to pretend that didn't happen?" Yep, that's exactly what we did. Later that night, Emily texted me that she felt alienated and that our family was choosing to live in ignorance. I told her, "Emily, no one cares if you're vegan. We care that you try to force everyone else to be vegan. That's the difference." She didn't respond. So, where are we now? Well, Emily still talks to me, but things are definitely strained. My dad now refers to her as the tofu tyrant. My uncle keeps randomly texting me pictures of cheeseburgers with captions like freedom. And as for me, I've learned my lesson. Never, ever challenge a militant vegan's dinner rules. And never, ever give them access to your TV.